Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. I'm Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney, and I'm the owner of the law offices of Elsa W. Smith, where our mission is to empower women through estate planning. Through our guests and educational content, my hope is to provide you with glimpses of what an empowered woman is and the tools that she needs to win. Today's topic is a pretty timely one. I guess the inspiration for this episode came from just the calls that we were getting in the office. And that led me to actually create the content for this episode. And it's basically help. I needed a power of attorney for my mom. Like I said, we've been getting calls quite frequently. And I figured it was about time to just give you some of the basics of what a power of attorney is, what you or mom, if mom is listening to this live stream, what you need to know before granting someone a power of attorney and the potential pitfalls, right? Things that you want to avoid. So, what is a power of attorney? A power of attorney, it's a document. It's a legal document that gives someone legal authority to act for another person. So, who is involved in a power of attorney? We have you, who are, you're known as the principal. The person you want to act on your behalf is called the agent. They're also known as an attorney, in fact. For purposes of this episode, you're going to hear me refer to the person as the agent. Okay, so let's talk about this agent. What should you look for in deciding on someone to be your agent for a power of attorney? Many people will choose their spouse, a relative, or, a close friend to be their agent. But the truth is that you can name anyone that you want. So what do you or mom need to know before choosing an agent? Well, you certainly want, somebody who lives nearby. Consider where your potential agent lives, right? How close are they to you or your, preferred hospital or medical center? Keep in mind that if you have a healthcare power of attorney, that agent may need to get to the hospital or care center quickly in an emergency. So choosing someone who lives out of state may not be the best choice. You'll want to find someone who lives nearby. And then next, certainly choose someone who is trustworthy. When choosing a power of attorney, it's important to consider the person's character and their values. Ask yourself, be honest, can this person be trusted with such a big responsibility? And are they likely to follow through on the demands of being an agent? Will they follow your wishes? You're trusting a person to speak on your behalf. And depending on the type of power of attorney powers you grant, they may need to transact, financial matters on your behalf. You need to select someone that you can count on and can be trusted. Bottom line, they are going to be potentially making decisions that are going to impact your life. Next, you want to choose someone who's assertive. What do I mean? Being a power of attorney agent is not always easy, especially when you've got emotions running high. So before selecting your agent, think about how they communicate. Are they assertive or are they just pushovers, right? Are they able to stand up to other people and hold their ground when they are under pressure? You'll want someone who is not going to back down when it comes to supporting and fulfilling your wishes. No matter how much pressure they get from maybe family members or friends, what's more, the person that you choose as your agent should be able to communicate clearly without, second guessing what they're doing. You also want to choose someone who's articulate. Think about how your prospective or potential agent communicates. Think about how they communicate in everyday life. Is the person naturally calm and they're able to communicate clearly and effectively, even under pressure? Or does this person just get flustered when things get heated or emotional? Would the person be able to communicate your wishes clearly when, if things got really heated? Would they be able to communicate with a medical team, when necessary? You want to pick someone who has, decent communication skills. It means that, you really need to think about a person's, their speech patterns, quite frankly. Does it take that person a while to get to the point? If that's the case, you may want to reconsider that person. And in, challenging medical situations, the person, whomever you choose, needs to be decisive and a good communicator. And then another thing, does the person want to serve? You want to choose someone who has a willingness to serve. Remember that being a power of attorney agent can be really stressful and demanding, and not everyone is cut out to perform the task required. So when choosing your agent, talk to the person you're considering, please. Nothing's worse than, being blindsided by the fact like, hey, you were chosen as this person's power of attorney. And, you're sitting there like a deer in the headlights going, what? Be sure that the person feels that they could serve in that capacity. Encourage the person to be honest with you. The last thing, like I said, the last thing you want is for someone to at first say yes, and then, when the time comes, the role ends up being a bit too overwhelming, right? So now let's talk about, the types of powers of attorney. In Maryland, powers of attorney can be general or limited. A general power of attorney gives a person the power and the authority to act for the principal in all business and personal matters. And examples of this include, opening and closing bank accounts, buying and selling stock, getting access to safety deposit boxes, taking out a loan, buying real estate, suing someone on your behalf, and entering into a contract on your behalf, right? Now, a limited power of attorney grants the agent only those powers that are defined in that document. Okay. And a lot of times this is used in financial matters to, for example, or not for example, but in addition to financial matters, managing real estate, making healthcare decisions, when you lose the ability to make those decisions for yourself. Medical powers of attorney are also referred to as advanced directives. They can be limited, as I said, depending on, what powers you want to grant, and for how long. Now, there is a durable power of attorney. Now, in Maryland, a power of attorney is assumed to be durable unless the document says that it's not. Okay. So the difference is that between the durable power of attorney and the other powers of attorney that I just mentioned is that it endures even after you've become incapacitated, which is really important. So if you've been diagnosed, for example, with like early stage Alzheimer's, you'd want to make sure you have a durable power of attorney so the person can begin to act and continue to act when that disease leads to your inability to act on your own, right? A limited or general power of attorney dissolves once you become incapacitated, and then a court is going to need to appoint a guardian or a conservator to handle, your matters. Now, let's go to who can create a power of attorney. In Maryland, to create a power of attorney, the person needs to be, and that's you, the principal, needs to be at least 18 years old. The person needs to intend to give the power to the person or the agent named in that document. And here's the sticking point for a lot of people that call wanting to get a power of attorney created for their mom or their parent, is that they need to be mentally competent, which means that they need to be able to understand the document. They need to understand what they're signing, the powers that they are granting, and they need to understand which property, or what pieces of property are affected by the power that they are granting. All right. So what are some pitfalls that you want to avoid? Okay, and I'm gonna mention 3 of them right now. The first, pitfall number 1, you waited too long. For the adult child who wanted to have her mom execute a power of attorney, I say, look, for example, you knew 3 years ago that your mom had been diagnosed with, for example, say, beginning stages of Alzheimer's or some other, cognitive, a disease that affects their cognitive faculties. And because your mom seemed fine and could still handle some things on her own, you never pushed the issue. Mom may have also been in denial because of her disease. It's very traumatic to come to the realization that you may be forgetting things and you're actually suffering with a disease that makes you dependent on someone else, particularly if you've been very independent for most of your life. So now 3 years later, mom can't make decisions on her own and she's got memory issues, right? It's likely at that point, it's probably too late to execute a valid power of attorney. Now mom, in this example, she probably lacks the competency requirement that's needed. Now, an alternative, and unfortunately more costly option is to have a court appoint a guardian to handle, your mother's personal and financial affairs. And we'll talk about guardianships in a future episode that's beyond the scope of what we're going to cover today. Pitfall number 2. You thought it would cost too much. You think it will cost too much. Now, I ask you, how much is your peace of mind worth? What is it going to cost your family in terms of time and aggravation if you do nothing? Think about this. If your mom is not doing well and you have a power of attorney, and you don't have a power of attorney, I should say, think about how unpleasant it'll be when you need to communicate with, say, a pharmacy or a medical insurance company, and they need to seek authorization for something, and they will only speak with your mom, not you. And let's play out this example. If mom is in a rehab facility or in assisted living, you have to go there, you've got to put her on the phone, and basically anything that you need to do, you have to go through the motions of, getting your mom on the phone. And, you hope that she is well enough to speak to the individuals that are on the phone. So I already know that this is hitting home for some of you who are watching right now because you've asked me about it. The third pitfall is that you chose the wrong person as your agent. Instead of choosing someone who's going to act in your best interest, you chose someone who is irresponsible and someone with, questionable morals. I ask people to just make sure that you're putting the right people in the right roles and that you are not making estate planning decisions, not just about choosing who your agent for a power of attorney is going to be, but for anyone who's going to play a role in your estate planning. Make sure that your decisions are not made out of guilt. Make sure that the person that you're granting this responsibility to is qualified. And an estate planning attorney can help you work through some of those issues if you're unsure. So, let's say you've chosen the wrong person, sadly. So this person violates her fiduciary duties and spends all the money in your bank accounts. Yes, the person can be sued, and even, charged criminally in some cases, but that's going to do little to comfort the person who needed that money to live on. And now after they've been wiped out, they have to go seek government assistance. That's really pretty sad. Let's make this a less dramatic example. Let's say that your agent lives in another state and it's not practical for that person to relocate here for, a few months while they're helping you with your needs. Recall what I said earlier about, having the agent live in your state so that they can respond quickly, and it's not an undue burden on them. So again, pitfall number 1, you waited too long. Number 2, you thought it would cost too much. And then pitfall number 3, you chose the wrong person. So to review, we covered some basic concepts about the power of attorney. We also talked about what you need to know before giving someone this enormous power. And then lastly, we covered some 3 specific pitfalls to avoid. For more information on what type of power of attorney is right for you, and with help in creating one, you should contact the licensed estate planning attorney in your state. We do this in the state of Maryland and the District of Columbia for our clients every day. I want you to go to our website at elsawsmithlaw.com, and I want you to check out the resources tab. Download one or more of the free resources we created for you. I want to thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Women Winning Wednesdays. I'm Elsa W. Smith, your Maryland estate planning attorney, empowering women through estate planning. I'll see you next time. Be well.